Good morning, everyone, and a warm welcome to all of you. I am delighted to introduce today's event, a two-day seminar focused on realizing sustainable development goals in the Indian context. We are gathered here on the 5th and 6th of March, 2026, organized by SEA College of Science, Commerce and Arts, an autonomous institution located in KR Puram, Bangalore. I am pleased to present to you our distinguished speaker, Professor K. Vijana Rao, former Vice-Chancellor of Acharya Nagarjuna University and the Honorary Director of the SEA Group of Institutions. Over the course of this seminar, we will explore various aspects of sustainable development, discuss challenges and opportunities specific to India, and work towards actionable solutions. So, let's get started and make the most of these insightful sessions. Thank you for being here. Let's begin by exploring the idea of sustainability. At its core, sustainability urges us to be careful and responsible in how we use our natural and human resources. It's about making sure that we respect and uphold the dignity, decency, and decorum not just for ourselves today, but also for future generations. Now, how does economics fit into this picture? Well, economics is the main discipline that helps us understand this philosophy. It's fundamentally about how humans behave, how we make choices about using limited resources. In fact, Lionel Robbins, a renowned economist, defined economics as the science that studies human behavior in terms of the relationship between ends and means, things we want to achieve, and the resources we have to achieve them, which often have multiple uses. So, at its heart, economics is about making wise decisions, allocating scarce resources judiciously. But the importance of sustainability extends beyond just the environment or economics. It touches every aspect of life, environment, economy, and society. And it's rooted in principles like liberty, equity, and justice, values that ensure people can lead dignified lives. In fact, these ideals are enshrined in Article 21 of the Indian Constitution, which guarantees the right to life with dignity. So, in summary, sustainability is a comprehensive concept that guides us to balance our needs today with the responsibilities we hold for tomorrow, across all areas of life. As we consider the accelerating pace of global warming, it's clear that the depletion and large-scale plundering of our natural assets are becoming more urgent issues. We're seeing more frequent corporate failures and an increasing number of fugitives involved in economic offenses, which further underscores the need to make our economies sustainable. In 2024, the Earth's temperature hit a record high of 1.55 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. This rise is primarily due to increased emissions of CO2 and other greenhouse gases, which come from burning fossil fuels like coal and natural gas, as well as deforestation. You've probably heard that glaciers are melting faster than ever before. In fact, ice loss has doubled over the past 20 years, which is alarming because it contributes to rising sea levels and disrupts ecosystems. At the same time, forest cover has drastically shrunk, about 100 million hectares between 2000 and 2020. Tropical regions are losing the most forest, which affects biodiversity and climate stability. And unfortunately, we're exploiting Earth's natural and non-renewable resources on a large scale without proper planning or foresight. This reckless consumption is unsustainable and poses serious threats to our future, making it more important than ever to rethink how we manage and protect our environment. The United Nations has raised a serious alarm about how we are extracting primary materials from the Earth at an unprecedented rate. They warn that if this continues unchecked, our planet's resources could become effectively hollow within a very short period. This highlights the urgent need for sustainable practices and responsible resource management. At the same time, we're witnessing major corporate scandals both abroad and in India, which have taken us by surprise and shaken public trust. Starting with Enron in 2001, we saw Tyco International in 2002, Lehman Brothers in 2011, and Volkswagen in 2015. These scandals revealed deep-rooted issues in corporate governance and ethical practices globally. Closer to home, India has also faced its share of high-profile scandals, like Satyam Computers in 2009, Sahara in 2010, and Kingfisher in 2012. These incidents have exposed vulnerabilities in our financial and economic sectors, undermining confidence and revealing cracks in the system. Adding to the concern is the rise in economic offenders, often called fugitives, especially in countries like India. These individuals commit organized economic crimes but evade justice, with little to no effective check on their activities. This growing trend not only affects our economy, but also hampers efforts to maintain integrity and transparency. So, as we see, both the depletion of Earth's resources and the scandals in the corporate world are interconnected challenges that threaten the stability of our economies and the sustainability of our future. Addressing these issues is crucial for building a resilient and trustworthy system. On this slide, we see that both developed and developing nations find themselves in a precarious situation, which is why the United Nations took action. In 2000, they set the Millennium Development Goals, or MDGs, with a target date of 2015. These goals aim to address some of the most pressing issues facing humanity. Following that, in 2015, the UN introduced the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, as a sort of evolved framework to be achieved by 2030. Now, it's important to acknowledge that, despite these ambitious efforts, neither the MDGs nor the SDGs have been fully achieved. However, the very process of formulating and adopting the SDGs highlights some critical realities. It reflects the troubling state of global issues like hunger, poverty, water and sanitation, energy and work life. It also underscores challenges such as income and wealth inequalities, rapid urbanization, climate change, ocean pollution, natural resource depletion, forest loss, delayed justice, and poor coordination among various mechanisms meant to deliver solutions. All of these issues are interconnected with human capital, the skills, health, and longevity of people. Our human resources are essential to achieving these goals, and the sustainability of our development efforts depends heavily on the well-being and capacity of individuals. That's why, in this context, sustainability becomes more than just a buzzword. It's a vital concept. It emphasizes the need for long-term solutions that are equitable and resilient, ensuring that future generations can meet their needs without compromising ours. Let's take a closer look at the factual position regarding these essential needs. Currently, about 10% of the world's population is living in extreme poverty. This means they lack basic human needs and survive on less than $3 a day. It's a stark reminder of the inequality that still exists globally. In addition, approximately 1.5 billion people are experiencing multidimensional poverty. This isn't just about income. It includes deprivation in education, healthcare, and access to basic amenities necessary for a decent standard of living. Hunger remains a significant issue in today's world. According to the Global Hunger Index, around 300 million people are facing crisis-level hunger. The situation is particularly severe in Asia and Africa, where vulnerable groups like women and children are most affected. These groups are often undernourished and malnourished, which impacts their health and future prospects. Connecting this to our overall theme, these facts highlight the urgent need for continued efforts and targeted interventions to address poverty and hunger worldwide. It's a challenge that requires our collective attention and action. Looking at the current situation in India, the reality we face is quite stark. According to the 2024 Global Hunger Index, India ranks 105th out of 127 countries surveyed, with a score of 27.3. Now, the GHI scores range from 0 to 100, where 0 indicates no hunger at all. So, a score of 27.3 tells us that hunger remains a significant challenge here. Furthermore, the Food and Agriculture Organization estimates that around 20 crore, or 200 million people in India, go to bed hungry every night. Tragically, around 7,000 people die each day due to hunger-related causes. Both these organizations have expressed doubts about India ever becoming completely free from hunger by a specific target year. This underscores a harsh reality. No country is immune to poverty. Attempting to predict the complete eradication of poverty is often like chasing a wild goose, an elusive goal that might never fully be achieved. Another critical point is the growing inequality in our country. The gap between the rich and the poor is widening. In fact, the top 1% of Indians control about 40% of the nation's wealth, and they also receive around 23% of the total income. These are not just numbers. They reflect deep-rooted issues that impact social stability and development. As we move forward in this presentation, keep in mind how these issues are interconnected and what they mean for India's future. Let's take a closer look at the so-called billionaire Raj in India. The number of Indian dollar billionaires is growing steadily, with 358 now, making India the third largest in the world after the US and China. This highlights a significant wealth concentration among a small elite. At the same time, the fundamental idea of a socialistic pattern of society is being overlooked. Instead, there's a strong push towards private participation across almost every sector, including defense. This shift suggests a move away from collective welfare towards individual enterprise. Now, under these circumstances, when we talk about transforming the economy for sustainable development, it becomes quite complex. Considering the widespread poverty, the lack of basic amenities like education and healthcare, pursuing such a transformation can seem like chasing a mirage. It's a stark reminder of the challenges we face before realizing our development goals. Let's take a closer look at the progress and challenges related to these goals. Starting with no poverty, despite efforts, around 736 million people still live in extreme poverty, which is about 10% of the global population. Additionally, 1.5 billion people suffer from multidimensional poverty, meaning they face deprivations in health, education, and living standards. To address this, we need to focus on providing food at lower costs while ensuring adequate nutrition and creating strong networks to guarantee food availability for all. Moving on to zero hunger, the challenge remains significant, with approximately 821 million people undernourished worldwide. Alarmingly, 90 million children under 5 are dangerously underweight, highlighting critical gaps in food security across many nations. Our approach should prioritize women and children, promote sustainable agriculture, and improve food processing technologies to reduce waste and enhance food supply chains. When we look at good health and well-being, progress has been uneven across countries and regions. There are noticeable disparities, and recent global health issues like COVID-19 have further complicated the picture. For example, there's a 31-year gap in life expectancy between countries with the shortest and longest lifespans. Still, about 400 million people lack access to basic health care, and 21.7 million are living with HIV. To bridge these gaps, we have many opportunities, such as boosting immunity through better health practices, advancing vaccine technology, and developing cell and gene therapies. Researching new diseases and medicines is crucial to building resilient health systems. Overall, these goals are interconnected, and addressing them requires a comprehensive, collaborative effort. By focusing on these action points, we can make meaningful progress toward a healthier, more equitable world. Let's take a closer look at some of the key goals and the current factual positions associated with them. Starting with Goal 4, quality education. The data shows that gross enrollment ratios are less than 50% in many countries, which indicates that a significant number of children are not getting access to education. In fact, around 57 million children worldwide are still out of school. When we focus on developing countries, the situation for girls is even more concerning. About 1 in 4 girls is not in school. This highlights a critical issue not just of access, but also of quality in education. To address these challenges, we need to consider approaches like non-formal education, which can reach those who are outside the traditional school system. Skill enhancement programs are vital, as well as providing hands-on experience through experiments in labs that connect classroom learning to real-world applications. Moving to Goal 5, Gender equality. We see persistent gender inequalities. These include disparities in female-male ratios, lower wages for women, harassment at workplaces, and social taboos that restrict women's opportunities. To make meaningful progress, we need products and initiatives that improve women's lives, along with gender education to challenge stereotypes. Promoting being an equal employer can also help change workplace dynamics and foster a more inclusive environment. Regarding Goal 6, clean water and sanitation, the statistics are alarming. About 40% of people still lack access to quality potable water. Sanitation remains a major issue across many developing countries. Solutions include water harvesting technologies, desalination, and affordable sanitary items. But equally important is spreading awareness about sanitation practices to improve health and hygiene in communities. For Goal 7, affordable and clean energy, the challenge is that 20 to 40% of villages still lack electricity. Even where electricity exists, about 60% is generated through thermal sources, which pose environmental hazards. Unclean energy sources contribute to roughly 73% of greenhouse gases, accelerating global warming. To tackle this, we need to tap into non-conventional energy sources like solar and wind, reduce power losses, and ensure energy security for all. Finally, on Goal 8, decent work and economic growth, there are issues such as poor working conditions, low safety standards, and a lack of efforts to mitigate occupational diseases and industrial hazards. The youth unemployment rate is also high, with layoffs and retrenchments adding to the challenge. Addressing this requires adopting new technologies that improve safety and productivity, as well as promoting innovative business practices to create more sustainable economic opportunities. Connecting all these points back to our overall theme, it's clear that these goals are interconnected. Progress in one area can significantly impact others, and a comprehensive, integrated approach is essential to achieve sustainable development for everyone. Let's now look at Goal 11, sustainable cities and communities. As urbanization accelerates, many cities face challenges like poor quality of living, unreliable public transport, and expanding slums. To address this, we need to devise methods for sustainable living, such as developing low-cost housing and improving sanitation. Investing in smart city projects and enhancing public transport systems are crucial steps toward creating more livable urban environments. Moving on to Goal 12, responsible consumption and production. Our focus here is on reducing our ecological footprint by minimizing waste and promoting efficient resource utilization. Waste management technologies play a vital role in achieving this, along with encouraging healthier lifestyles that emphasize limited consumption. Finally, Goal 13, climate action. Climate change affects nearly every country, with rising global temperatures leading to more frequent and severe disasters. The key is to produce devices that reduce greenhouse gases and implement innovative ideas to mitigate natural disasters. Developing new techniques for relief efforts and disaster preparedness will be essential in our collective effort to combat climate change. Let's take a closer look at some of the environmental challenges we face today, starting with life below water. Our oceans are under significant threat, they're polluted, and the acidification of oceans is increasing, which impacts marine life. Additionally, rising ocean levels are causing soil erosion and threatening coastal communities. To address these issues, we need to focus on technologies that protect our seas, control piracy, promote coast-based development, and establish green corridors that support sustainable marine ecosystems. Moving on to life on land, it's clear that human life fundamentally depends on both Earth and the oceans. Did you know that plant life provides about 80% of our food? However, we are witnessing rapid depletion of forest cover, degradation of dry lands, soil erosion, and a decline in biodiversity. To combat these problems, we must adopt methods for the optimum utilization of land and oceans, introduce new varieties of plants and animals, leverage cell biology and biotechnology, and prioritize protecting our rich biodiversity through sustainable agriculture. Now, when we consider peace, justice, and strong institutions, we see that delayed justice and sometimes a lack of justice itself create major issues. Threats like terrorism and mafia activities, vulnerable law enforcement, violence against women and children, and human rights violations all undermine social stability. Addressing these requires innovative IT support for our legal systems, reorganizing organizational structures, building networks to control terrorism, promoting peace education, and encouraging strong business ethics. Finally, on partnerships for the goals, we observe that there's often poor coordination among countries on issues that endanger life on Earth. There's a noticeable divide between rich and poor nations, which hampers collective action. Regional cooperation through organizations like NATO and the EU can help bridge these gaps. Moreover, large multinational corporations have a vital role. They can positively influence governments, promote equitable business opportunities, and foster a positive attitude among country leaders. Together, these efforts are essential for achieving global sustainability and resilience. Let's take a closer look at the overall budget size, which is set at an impressive Rs. 53.47 lakh crore. Out of this, the capital expenditure, or CapEx, is allocated Rs. 12.22 lakh crore, making up about 22.85% of the total budget. This focus on CapEx highlights our commitment to investing in long-term growth and infrastructure. Now, our strategy revolves around three key Kartvyas. First, we aim to accelerate and sustain economic growth, ensuring that the economy remains vibrant and capable of generating opportunities. Second, we are dedicated to fulfilling the aspirations of our people, with a special emphasis on youth development, recognizing that our young population is the future of our nation. And third, we focus on providing equal opportunities to the poor, underprivileged, and disadvantaged groups, fostering inclusivity and social equity. To achieve these goals, we've charted out a clear strategy. It starts with strengthening the foundations of growth, building resilient infrastructure and fostering innovation. Trust-based governance is vital, as it ensures transparency and accountability at every level. We also prioritize ease of doing business and ease of living, making it simpler for entrepreneurs to thrive and for citizens to access quality services. Additionally, we are leveraging cutting-edge technologies, including artificial intelligence applications, to modernize governance and improve efficiency. All these elements come together in our budget proposals for 2026-27, reflecting a holistic approach to sustainable development and inclusive progress. Let's now look at how we are aiming to improve fiscal performance, which remains a high priority for human development. A key focus here is on revitalizing the service sector. We've introduced the slogan, Education, to Employment and Enterprise, to emphasize the importance of creating a seamless transition for our youth from education into meaningful careers. To support this, we propose setting up a high-powered standing committee to oversee and accelerate these initiatives. One of the exciting developments is the creation of new, diverse career pathways for young people. For instance, the Finance Minister, Nirmala Sitharaman, has proposed a robust care ecosystem, which will include about 1.5 lakh caregivers. This aims to generate employment and build a dedicated support system for our aging population and those in need. Additionally, we're launching a scheme to help states establish 5 regional medical hubs in partnership with the private sector. This will enhance healthcare accessibility and strengthen our medical infrastructure across regions. We're also planning to set up 3 new All India Institutes of Ayurveda and upgrade existing AYUSH pharmacies and drug testing laboratories, which aligns with our focus on traditional medicine and holistic health. In the veterinary sector, we're scaling up the number of veterinary professionals significantly, recognizing the importance of animal health and agriculture support. Furthermore, we're pushing forward the orange economy, which includes animation, visual effects, gaming, and comics, AVGC industries, aimed at making our youth fully competent in this rapidly growing and dynamic sector. Finally, we're establishing 5 university townships, with a special focus on STEM institutions and girls' hostels. This will create vibrant educational communities that promote innovation, inclusivity, and gender equality, all contributing to our broader goal of human development and economic growth. Now, let's delve into the key issues surrounding sustainability. The primary concern here is the large-scale investments needed in infrastructure, including digitization, and in human resources. Despite being an independent nation for over 75 years, we still find ourselves speaking the language of an underdeveloped country. This highlights that economic growth alone, such as targeting a $5 trillion economy, may not be enough to truly improve our nation's well-being. Because unless we focus on enhancing the quality of life, the standard of living, and ultimately the overall human potential, those economic targets won't translate into real progress. It's about reaching every last individual, every last community, and ensuring they benefit from development. Now, on the topic of addressing poverty, this gained significant international attention when Nobel laureates Esther Duflo, Abhijit Banerjee, and Michael Kremer were awarded the Nobel Prize in Economics in 2019. They were recognized for their innovative, experimental approach to tackling global poverty through randomized controlled trials. This approach involves conducting rigorous, scientific experiments to test what works best in alleviating poverty. In fact, they established the Abdul Latif Jameel Poverty Action Lab, or JPAL, which is a global network of around 500 researchers committed to this cause. Their work underscores the importance of evidence-based policies in our efforts to create sustainable and impactful solutions to poverty. So overall, our agenda for action must include strategic investments, a focus on human development, and adopting innovative, data-driven approaches like those pioneered by JPAL to truly make a difference. Reducing inequalities in the distribution of income and wealth must be our urgent priority. It's a well-known fact that simply increasing GDP does not automatically translate into an improved standard of living for the poor and marginalized sections of society. In fact, the statistics on per capita income often hold little meaning for these individuals because the benefits don't reach them directly. One crucial area that requires immediate attention is enhancing allocation to education. For many years, stakeholders in the education sector have been demanding more funds. The Kathari Commission recommended that the government allocate at least 6% of GDP to education, but unfortunately, we haven't yet achieved that target. Currently, the allocation hovers around 4.1 to 4.6%, which shows we still have a long way to go. Next, let's talk about the healthcare ecosystem. Despite significant improvements in life expectancy, our healthcare system remains vulnerable and under-resourced. There are issues related to the availability of qualified health personnel, and primary healthcare institutions often fall short of standards. Additionally, the corporatization of healthcare has led to many medical services becoming less accessible for a large portion of our population, making healthcare a pressing concern that needs more attention. Finally, skill enhancement and upgradation are vital for our development. Today, skilling is not just a buzzword, it's a necessity. The National Education Policy 2020 emphasizes this by integrating skill development into the core of our education system. Initiatives like the National Credit Framework and the National Skill Qualification Framework are designed to ensure that youth are equipped with relevant skills, making skill development a top priority for our country's growth. All these points connect back to our overall theme, creating a more equitable, inclusive society where every individual has the opportunity to thrive. Now, moving on to slide 17. Let's discuss the implementation of the Scheme of Universal Basic Income, or UBI. As the direct benefit transfer system continues to expand across the country, it becomes increasingly clear that the lower strata of society need a minimum assured income. This is where the idea of UBI comes in, as a social welfare measure, to provide a safety net and ensure basic economic security for everyone. It's worth noting that the government is already taking steps in this direction through the National Food Security Act of 2013. Under this act, food items are distributed to about 75% of rural households and 50% of urban dwellers. This existing framework highlights how targeted social welfare programs are being implemented, and UBI could be a broader, more inclusive approach. Now, let's talk about vocational education, which has always been a major strength of India. Historically, India has been renowned for its artisanship. Think of intricate textiles, muslin, and various handicrafts. These skills are part of our rich cultural legacy. Mahatma Gandhi himself emphasized the importance of rural economy and advocated for village and khadi industries, recognizing their potential to empower local communities. Interestingly, countries like Switzerland and Japan became highly developed by prioritizing artisanal industries and craftsmanship. If India had adopted a similar model, focusing on our traditional skills and artisanal sectors, we could have potentially achieved a position among the world's advanced economies by now. So both UBI and vocational education are crucial strategies, one ensuring economic security, the other harnessing our unique skills to promote sustainable development and inclusive growth. So, in conclusion, this is the final word on the timeline we've been discussing. The Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, are set to be achieved by 2030. That's a clear target for global progress within a fairly near future. On the other hand, the Viksit Bharat goal is slated for 2047, which marks India's centenary of independence. But here's the thing, who really knows what might happen in such a long run? It's important to remember Lord Maynard Keynes, who famously said, "In the long run, we are all dead," in his 1923 work. This quote reminds us that waiting for long-term outcomes can sometimes be a misleading guide for current action, especially when we're dealing with urgent issues like large-scale unemployment, inequality, or economic crises. The moral here is clear. Focusing solely on distant goals can distract us from the pressing needs of today. So, the key takeaway is that while long-term planning is important, immediate action driven by current realities is crucial. This aligns with our overall theme, being proactive and responsive rather than overly fixated on distant timelines. Thank you so much for your time and attention today. I really appreciate your engagement and interest throughout this presentation. If there's one key takeaway I want you to remember, it's that the ideas we've discussed are all about creating meaningful connections and meaningful change. Remember, the concepts we've explored are not just theoretical. They can be applied practically to make a real difference. I hope you feel inspired to take these insights forward and implement them in your own work or projects. Again, thank you for being part of this session. I look forward to seeing how you'll use this knowledge moving ahead.